Chicago Bears rookie defensive end Austin Booker looks to be the steal of the draft as he stacks performances in the NFL preseason. I'm going to discuss this and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I am a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, man. We got a fun show going through some preseason takeaways, guys. We have Austin Booker shining again for those Chicago Bears. Is he the steal of the draft so far? Running backs. The running backs came to play, and then the wide receivers, they brought some explosiveness to the table. But guys, before I can get into any and all of that, I gotta tell you guys that LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Austin Booker, 6'6", 245 pounds, a guy that was drafted in the 5th round, 144th pick to the Chicago Bears. And guys, in the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, right? Kind of like week 0 in college football. It's not actually week 1. It's the same thing. And in that game, he had a pressure, a hurry. He got to the backfield and he showed that disruptiveness, that burst, that speed, that explosiveness, the hand usage, just the motor, right? Well, let's fast forward to week 1, his second game of the preseason. And guys, against the Buffalo Bills, 5 total tackles, 4 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits, and 2.5 sacks. So you talk about you for those my everydayers, right? If you're not an everydayer, this is your cue. Become one. But for my everydayers, you've heard me and Keith talk, and you've heard me say stack days, right? When you talk about preseason, training camp, OTAs, into the season, whatever, stack days and stack moments and stack weeks, whatever, just stack. And when you look at Austin Booker, you're seeing him do that, to be able to go from just pressures and hurries, and making a couple plays in the Hall of Fame game to, okay, let's get you with some extensive work in week 1, your second preseason game. Now you got a little bit more feel for the game and the speed of the game. Now go out there and get it. And I remember watching this young man at the Senior Bowl, and I always come back to that experience. Shout out to Jim Nagy as always, and Senior Bowl staff, and that event, and what the access it gives to be able to see players in their natural element, man. And at practice, every day after practice, this young man would just, before going to the bus and going back to their spot, to their hotel, and like getting ready to do team interviews and stuff like that, he always went to the goalpost over there by the exit, and he worked. He worked on his pass rush moves, his spin, his cross chop, his counters. He's over there just grinding, getting other guys. I think it was Javon Solomon and a couple other guys that were drafted in the same class that came up, after he initially started doing this. I mean, let's do it. And you saw the meeting of the minds, them talking about their process and how they set guys up and things of that nature. And just to see that transition and translate to on-field play in the NFL. Yes, I get it. He's playing against, some second and third string guys, and it's always cool to downplay when guys are doing well, but that's never something I'm going to do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. Like, yes, I get it. There's still a learning curve when you do face those starting offensive tackles, right? It's going to be a different ball game when you finally face Christian Darrisaw and Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, right? And I get it. I 100% get it, and I understand. But I'm not going to say and act as if he's not doing what he needs to do. 2.5 sacks, 3 QB hits. Like, guys, that's production. That's living in the backfield for your defense. And with Matt Eberflus being a defensive-minded guy, at the end of the day, you look at this line, and it's crazy to me to think about. They drafted last year, and I was critical of them, guys. I think I said on the pod, you traded down and let the Eagles trade up with you, and you selected Darnell Wright, who I liked. I didn't think he was a first-round player that high, at least, but you took him top 10. Instead, you could have got Jalen Carter. Then you doubled down on defensive tackle in the second round with Gervon Dexter out of Florida, who I still have high hopes for, and Zach Pickens, who was always talented. Like, I think he was a 5-star recruit, but he was never consistent, right? The only thing consistent about him was that he was inconsistent. You just wanted to see him be just consistent with his play, like on a regular basis, and be routine with it, right? Allow that natural ability to shine, snap to snap, play to play. Like I said, stack those days, but we didn't see that, right? And for him, for Austin Booker to be a day 3 pick, 5th round. Remember, day 3 starts in the 4th round. To be a 5th round pick and come out here through preseason and look like a game buster, I'm telling you, I'm excited about that, because this was a guy. Let me see if I can find my grade for him really quick. But I'm pretty sure I had a late day 2 grade on. I think I had a 3rd round grade on this young man. And for me, that's why I'm just like, that's why I always say I'm not really concerned as much with how the NFL sometimes view guys, because how many times have we seen guys be a 3rd, 4th round pick, and then you fast forward and it's like, yo, this guy's good. Like, he's a starter, so forth and so on. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I had like a late day 3 pick on him. And that for me, yeah, I had a 3rd round. I had a late 3rd round pick on him. Mid to late 3rd round pick on Austin Booker. And I just liked what I saw from him. Again, that motor, the things that you can't teach is want to. You know how they say in the NBA, defense is a skill, but it's also a mentality. Like, you have to want to play defense, to clog passing lanes and jump passes and, be, physical and everything. And you have to want to do that. It's the same thing with motor. It's not you can't teach somebody to play hard and play strong and play with a motor that doesn't stop. You can't teach that. That's not something you want to try and teach someone, right? So when I look at it, for me, Austin Booker shines again for the Chicago Bears, and he's looking like an NFL draft steal. For them to get him in the 5th round, pick 144, 6'6", 245, almost 50 pounds. And I wouldn't be shocked if he adds a little bit more muscle mass. He gets up to 250, maybe 252 at 6'6", 6'5", 6'6" in an NFL weight program. Now and he keeps that speed, that quickness, that elusiveness. He had a nice little spin move. Like, he knows how to get into the backfield. And he's the type of rusher that tackles hate, because it's like, okay, yeah, I got my hands latched. I thought I did the rep. I thought I ended the rep right here. No, he keeps going. Like Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not saying he's Aiden Hutchinson, but that's what makes Aiden Hutchinson so great. Yes, he's physical. Yes, he's strong. He can convert speed to power, all of that. But it's the motor which makes Aiden Hutchinson like one of the best in the league right now, is because even when you think you stop the first move, he's got a second, he's got a third. He's going to keep on trucking. He's going to keep pushing forward. And Austin Booker has that too. We call that intangible. It's the it factor to me when you can, because the technical aspects of cross chop, spin move, push pull, bull rip, like all those things can be taught. And especially when you're athletic like he is and fluid, you can learn those things. It's the want to, it's the things that mentally you are just built different. And that's why I look at Austin Booker. I'm excited for this young man. If you can't tell by my voice, I'm excited for him and what he's going to do with the Chicago Bears defensive line, on the Chicago Bears defensive line, especially across from Montez Sweat when he gets the opportunity to crack the starting lineup. But guys, talking about cracking starting lineups, listen, the New York Giants, I know they brought in Devin Motor Singletary, but they have 2 young running backs that we got to talk about, because that might be the future of their run game. We're going to discuss this and more coming up next. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn knows and helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively looking or searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So why don't you add yourself to the mix? All you need to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Running backs came to play in week 1 of the 2024 NFL preseason. And Eric Gray, you look at this New York Giants, let's start there. Their running back situation brought in Devin Motor Singletary, a guy who was supposed to be a backup. He's been a backup for a couple years. And then he gets the opportunity to start with the scheme change in Houston. Dameon Pierce goes to the bench. Devin Singletary comes to the forefront and plays good football in 2023. Gets him signed and gets him a deal with the New York Giants, who are looking to replace Saquon Barkley. You're not going to have that type of productivity out of Devin Singletary, but you could do it with a committee. And I think what I saw, with their rushing attack, Tyrone Tracy. Let's start. Well, let's start there with the rookie, right? Tyrone Tracy, 5 carries, 26 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. But remember, me and Keith talked about that, right, on Friday's episode where we previewed players to watch. And I talked about Tyrone Tracy, a guy that can run zone, he can run gap, he runs hard, he runs physical, converted receiver into a running back, and he totes the rock well. So he can catch the ball in the backfield. But I wanted to see how he handled the physicality of being an NFL runner. And he handled it very, very well. Contact balance, running through tackles, being a collision player and being physical. Love to see it, love to hear it. Now, Eric Gray did a little bit of everything in this game. 4 carries, 52 yards, average 13 yards per touch. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a long run. His longest run was a 48-yarder where he hit the alley and then made he basically made a defender look like one of the break dancers from the Olympics. Put the guy on the ground, right? I think hand touch earth, everything, and then went ahead and got to the end zone. But then he caught 4 passes, 46 yards, 11.5 yards per catch off of 4 targets. So he was 4 for 4. Not talking about Wendy's, talking about Eric Gray. He was 4 for 4. And again, having nearly 100 yards or maybe, he was close. No, he was a little over 100 total yards from scrimmage or around that area. So for me, he was around 100 total yards from scrimmage and everything. Trying to do math on the fly, guys. Just trying to do math on the fly. But yes, I was excited, and Keith highlighted him as a guy that, yes, Motor Singletary is there. But I truly believe one of my biggest takeaways that this could be the situation where you look at these 2 young running backs, Eric Gray and Tyrone Tracy, both can run the ball hard and physical, but also make people miss in open space. You can line them up and throw the ball to them. I'm just saying you may not need to draft a top-tier running back in the 2025 NFL draft, because of these 2 young players, if you believe in their skill set and give them the opportunity to get the job done. That's all I'm saying in that situation. I'm not here to say don't to ignore the position. If a top tier guy falls to you and you're not, you feel like, hey, this guy is better than them, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you at all, baby. Do what you have to do. But let's, again, sticking with the running backs here. Let's go on to the Miami Dolphins. And this is a guy I talked about, Jaylen Wright. Jaylen Wright, explosive, dynamic player, 10 carries, 55 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and he had a rushing touchdown. He looks the part, and that speed, the fact that he is just another track star for this team. He's another, if they literally have if we were to take the fastest skill positions per team and make it a 4x1 relay, the Miami Dolphins are probably dusting the rest of the NFL, all other 31 teams. Okay, they're going to be the champions. But I got to give credit to Jaylen Wright. I was looking forward to seeing, and I hope to see a lot more of this preseason with Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane both battling injuries last year. I think with Raheem, that's kind of been the theme of his career, is that he's been nicked and banged up at times and missed games. I wouldn't really play either of those guys in the preseason. I would let Jalen Wright get those touches. And if I do play them, like if I play my starters, yeah, I'll let them play, give them a drive, a series or two each. Let's go from there, and then let Jalen Wright get a bulk of the carries. And I'm not gonna lie, I like what I saw from this young man. He is talented. Again, he runs hard, and I know there was a lot of talk coming into the NFL draft about him, like, oh, he played that gimmicky offense that is at Tennessee. He had a lot of light boxes, stuff of that nature. And I said, yeah, I get that, but what does it look like? Like, to me, it's like, let's paint the picture here. What does it look like when it's right? And when the blocking scheme and everything wasn't right, could you make something out of nothing? Could you negotiate poor blocking and negotiate defensive penetration and pressure? He showcased the footwork to be able to do that, make quick, decisive, and deliberate cuts. And then once he got out of there, now he's out of there. He's into open field, and you're not catching him if he gets to stack you and get up the field. So, yes, for me, I just look at that situation and said, man, I like a lot what I was able to see from this young man. He showcased some things, and I want to see more of Jalen Wright, like I said, going forward and going further into the preseason. Got to go to New York. And you guys know I listen. I said he wasn't a Dame's dude for me, and he wasn't, right? I wasn't a big fan of Braylon Allen, but 6 carries, 54 yards, 9 yards per carry. He also had a reception, I think, that was taken back for like holding, but he showcased good hands. He's not a guy that's going to run a lot of routes for you, so he's going to be more of a functional pass catcher, flats. He might be able to leak up field, stuff like that. But receiving wise, he's always going to be limited because he's not a route runner. But he'll be functional. But again, Breece Hall's there, so you don't really need him to play that position. But still, he showcased himself well. Physical, burly demeanor, getting downhill in a hurry, right? And I really appreciated that. Showcase some solid footwork to exchange gaps and everything, running downhill, showcasing that ability. And if I remember correctly, this is another guy that Braylon Allen was drafted lower than I had him graded. He was drafted 4th round, and I had Braylon Allen as if I remember correctly, let me just look. I'm pretty sure I had him as a 3rd round prospect. Started 2nd, I dropped him to 3rd because he didn't fare well in that air raid offense, that spread open offense that Wisconsin ran. But still, nonetheless, when I looked at him, I was like, man, if given the opportunity to be a downhill thumper and to be a downhill running back, like, yeah, he's absolutely an option. And 6'1", 230, like this is a big, strong, athletic downhill thumper. And when he, like I said, and I said this in my opening statement over the Draft Network on my scouting report, you go check it, go look at it. Literally my impact statement: Braylon Allen is a physically imposing downhill thumping runner. He can be the engine to a powerful run first offense. And that is what he showcased to do that. Yep, I gave him a day 2 adequate starter, 3rd round grade. And I think this young man, without a shadow of a doubt, could be an asset for this New York Jets, offense. And I tweeted that out. The pairing of him and Breece Hall could be very, very explosive and dynamic. But I want to stay here on this team and shout out one of my guys who I really liked. They drafted him 5th round, like the very next round after Braylon Allen, is Isaiah Davis. Out of South Dakota State. 6'1", 220. This guy, you talking about running routes, like, yeah, Braylon Allen's not gonna run routes for you. He can, and he can do it well. And you saw him on a Texas angle route where I believe he caught it and got about 20 yards upfield and everything. He had 24 yards. He caught all 4 of his passes. He had 4 receptions for 33 yards. He didn't do a lot on the ground, 4 rushes for 8 yards and everything. But still, you like what you saw, like what you see from both of those young runners. And I think there was one more runner I wanted to give a quick shout out to. And that's going to be Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Him and Bucky Irvin. I want to give a shout out to both of those guys. Bucky Irvin had a touchdown, if I remember correctly, in this game, and everything. And Bucky Irvin, six carries, 28 yards, 4.7 yards per, and a touchdown. and everything. We know he's going to be able to do as a pass catcher. But Sean Tucker, 10 carries, 68 yards, 6.8 yards per, a long of 26, no rushing touchdown or anything. But still, yeah, he also had 2 catches for 8 yards. So I look at that situation. I want to give shout out to those 2 running backs. Sean Tucker trying to iron out that RB3 role. Bucky Irvin trying to keep it, fight off competition for the RB2 role. So keep your eyes on these running backs that I listen. I want to see more from these guys as the preseason goes forward. But let's close this show out, guys. Wide receivers, Jermaine Burton from the Cincinnati Bengals had a nice game this weekend. So let's get into the wide receivers bringing that explosiveness. All this and more coming up next. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your number one ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Why? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. So with all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge wins. Keep your number one ride or die live at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Wide receivers bringing the explosiveness, bringing the juice. Jermaine Burton from the Cincinnati Bengals. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 82 yards receiving, averaged 27.3 yards per reception, 1 touchdown that went for 38 yards, had him lined up at the X receiver spot on that touchdown, and you just love to see him outrun the coverage and then caught the ball in stride, making the play in the end zone, and those are the things that we love to see, right? And this was a guy, when you think about just in general about what he brings to the table for this team, you have to say, like, listen, man, T. Higgins is there. Jamar Chase is now the one holding out or holding in. He's not showing up to anything. And so, yeah, it's very interesting to see how that turned out. T. Higgins was holding out, holding in, showed up. Now Jamar Chase is doing the same thing, right? Trying to get his money, and it's well deserved, you know. And the team needs to go ahead and make that decision to go ahead and pay this young man. Don't be crazy. All right, that's your best receiver. Let's be smart here. But seeing Jermaine Burton, he was a guy that was going to need to showcase himself well. Him, Andre Yoshavas, they have Charlie Jones. Like, they added receivers to this team and to this offense through the draft, the past 2 drafts. So looking at what he was able to do in terms of Jermaine Burton, I really appreciate it. I liked it a lot. And this is a guy that, for me, I gave him a 2nd-round grade. There was talks about his character and all this other stuff like that. But this is a guy, if you listen to Hard Knocks, Malik Neighbors said, I hate losing. I want the ball. Okay, the same thing with Jermaine Burton. He hates losing. He wants the ball. Nobody dropped down. We didn't drop Malik Neighbors because of that, right? So we shouldn't have dropped Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton had the talent and ability to be a 1st-round pick because he has a route running, the explosiveness, the ball skills, the leaping ability, the want to, the dog in him to make the plays that we love to see top tier or 2nd-tier receivers at least make on a regular basis. Guys, I got to go to New Orleans real quick, into Keith's neck of the woods, and against the Arizona Cardinals, the New Orleans Saints 2nd-year wide receiver that they drafted in the 6th round, pick 195 in the 2023 NFL draft out of Wake Forest, 6'5", 205, A.T. Perry, 4 catches, 85 yards, averaged 21.3 yards per catch. And this is a guy that you talking about being a prototypical X receiver. He gives you that. He kind of looks like AJ Green a little bit. He's not the same type of mover and athlete, but that's not really the problem for me. It's the simple fact of, hey, we have Rashid Shaheed, explosive route running receiver. We have Chris Olave, an explosive route running receiver. We have Alvin Kamara, a do it all, jack of all trades type of running back, a Swiss Army knife of sorts. Taysom Hill and the guys they have at the tight end position, Dallin Holker, who they got out of Colorado State, who's a solid player, reminded me a lot of Greg Dulcich. I don't know if he's the same exact type of mover, but very similar guys in my opinion in terms of how they won and where they lost reps. So yeah, having a traditional X, like somebody to take that role that Mike Thomas vacated and void, yeah, I think this is the move. I think this is a guy that, and I think when I initially graded him the summer, I was like, man, the following summer, I thought he was going to come out the year before. I had like a day 2 grade on, I think a third round, and things didn't look the same, in 2020, that 2022 season and everything didn't play out the way I hoped, but I still gave him like a 4th round grade. I saw developmental traits for him, and the fella said we'll take him in the 6th. All right, cool. But now he's out there producing and making plays, and he showcased that last preseason. But when Jameis Winston was there, and he was catching, I think his first preseason game last year, he had a touchdown, maybe 100 yards or something like that. He showcased himself well, and now you're just hoping, okay, now with the Mike Thomas being gone, with the opportunities being there for you, let's turn that preseason success into regular season success. So I'm excited for what A.T. Perry is going to be able to do. And I think if you're Derek Carr and you are that coaching staff, you're telling Derek Carr, hey, throw the ball up to him. Just Derek Carr is, to me, a passive quarterback and the passive passer or thrower of the football. Be a little aggressive. Get it to him, right? And I think that it will benefit you to do so. Closing it out with Kayshon Boutte, 2nd-year wide receiver out of LSU, 5'11", 197, 6th-round pick 187 of the 2023 NFL draft class. Targeted 6 times versus the Carolina Panthers. Came down with 3 for 53 yards. He also averaged 17.7, almost 18 yards per catch. He had a very nice, strong-handed catch in coverage down the field and everything. I think he with a guy like him, and they say he's been having a good camp too. Shout out to my boy Tyler Kyles, TK, my boy over there. So yeah, I think that for me, Kayshon Boutte, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, those guys being able to make big plays, right? That will alleviate some of the burn of not being able to get a Brandon Ayuk. I think if you can get that from them this year, right? In spurts, but you can get all 3 of those guys making plays at some point during this year, and eventually by the end of the season, they're all making plays on the field together. Yeah, like that could be the best case scenario for you, along with Pop Douglas also. So hopefully we get to see some more, see Jaheim Bell as well. But I just look at that situation, man, and I say, yo, like this is a good spot to be in my opinion, if you are a young receiver on the New England Patriots, right? Kayshon Boutte led the team in receiving with receptions, targets, and yards. Okay, like Jalen Polk had 3, all 3, but he only had 14 yards. They didn't get the ball down to him down the field. Jaheim Bell, played, only got one target, 1 catch for 11 yards. There's some explosive playmakers on this New England Patriots offense, and I think that if you can, with this coaching staff, Alex Van Pelt and everything, just do what needs to be done. Coach him the right way. You should be just fine. I promise you should be just fine. But guys, that's our show today. Preseason takeaways. Wide receivers bringing the explosiveness. Kayshon Boutte, A.T. Perry, Jermaine Burton, Andre Yoshevas, all those guys making plays in the preseason. Big time plays down the field. Running backs came to play. Braylon Allen proving me wrong. Not even proving me wrong because I still had a higher grade on the NFL. But he is out there looking like exactly my report right now in the sense, you know what I mean? So him, showcasing himself well, and his teammate Isaiah Davis, of course, Austin Booker looking like a draft steal right now through 2 games for him through the NFL preseason. But guys, listen, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everyday is on tomorrow's show. Guys, listen, Keith will be back. We're going to do some stock up, stock down stuff from the preseason week 1. Talk about these quarterbacks, stock up, stock down. We saw Spencer Rattler, Bo Nix, like all these guys played. Who showcased themselves the best? Who do we need to see more from heading into week 2? And then we're going to all be gearing up for previews for the college football season, the NFL draft prospects to know, as we're just a couple weeks away from college football. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.